Hello, hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of KimUnity Soulutions Podcast, the podcast that turns workplace challenges into real world solutions. You know why? Because when we make work better, we make life better. Let's get into it. I am your host, Kim the SME, and today we're going to be talking about how our responses matter. How we respond matters. I mean, just think about it. Whether we're at home, at work, in public, we're constantly faced with moments where our responses can either calm a situation or escalate it, right? Sometimes we're caught off guard. I know I have been, where we react now and then think later. Other times, maybe we pause or we don't respond, we avoid, which isn't beneficial either. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about. How do we make sure that when we do respond, that it's productive, that it's mindful? I mean, sometimes, and I truly believe this, is that how we respond determines or blocks our blessing. It could be a test. Are you passing the test? What grade do you give yourself? Would your response promote you or demote you? Responding without thinking can even cost you your job. Have you ever just bursted out or maybe responded inappropriately? It happens. Responding without thinking can cost you your job. It can cost you your relationships. It can even cost you your life. I mean, when you think about it, even in the professional space, dealing with police officers, doctors, there's always an impact. There's always consequences with how we respond. So this is something that I wanted to discuss today, mainly because of an experience that I recently had. And if you read my blog, you would have seen that where I made a comment and, the person responded back in anger and frustration and, started cussing. And it wasn't really that deep. It wasn't that deep at all to warrant that type of response. And so I could have met it either way. I could have matched that tone, matched that energy, or I could have responded like how I did, which was just say, okay, and just walked away. And the reason why I did that, number one, is because I knew the person. Number two, I knew they weren't feeling well. So sometimes in our responses, we can't be so quick to respond. We have to actually think about it. We have to put the pieces together. We have to show empathy. I mean, I already knew they weren't feeling well, so I can't expect them to respond as they normally would, right? Do you agree with that? Do you extend grace in those types of situations when you know that something's off? Maybe they're going through something, maybe they're not feeling well. They've lost someone, some kind of issue with their children. You should extend grace. In this situation, in this instance, I extended grace. I didn't have to engage. It wasn't necessary. It would have prolonged the conversation. It would have, escalated into something further. How we respond matters. So in preparing for this episode, I was curious because I knew because of that situation, I wanted to talk about it because it impacts us wherever we go. And I was curious, like, okay, I wonder what all types of responses there are. What are the different types of responses? And so in my research, I found that there were 4 types. And the first is reactive. And I'm sure that's most familiar. That's the one I was discussing about. reacting emotionally, just reacting without thinking, without caring, without empathy, just reacting. And what happens with that, when we respond in that fashion, it has a lot to do with something outside of that. There's another frustration, there's another pain point, and so it causes us to deflect that pain onto someone else. For example, let's say you told your children to wash the dishes before you came home. And then you come home and you go to the kitchen, and then guess what? The kitchen is full of dishes. They did not wash the dishes. So then you call them down and you're like, hey, I told you guys to wash these dishes. And they come down and you see them. You could tell they're not feeling good, and they respond, I wasn't even feeling good. You don't even care about me. You care more about the dishes. And so that is reactive. Or vice versa, if you're looking at it from your child's point of view, that's reactive. In a professional setting, maybe the scenario is you created a report that your manager asked for, and then when they get it, they're upset with it. They're unhappy with it. They're dissatisfied. They're like, this is not what I wanted. And then maybe your response is, well, it's not like you gave me any details. You didn't give me any guidelines, any rules, any formatting. It happens. It really, really happens. Now, the second type of response is passive. This is when you don't respond, you're holding it in. But what happens is the downside of this is that it weighs on you. It messes with your emotional well-being. You can't always not respond, walk away. It doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't solve the problem. Now, you may think that the example that I provided earlier about me making a comment and somebody responding, that was passive, but it wasn't. I want you to hold on to that thought. But being passive, I remember being in the workplace and there was another manager that was on our floor. And he would frequently yell at this one employee, and she would be crying at her desk. This would be like a weekly, bi-weekly episode. I'm not sure what she was doing, but he wasn't happy with it, and she was passive about it. She didn't leave. She didn't quit. She would sit at her desk and she would cry. And she would cry until, after hours. Like, he would be gone. She would be stuck with the work. And I just remember that so clearly. Like, I wish she would talk to me like that, and I had empathy for her, and she would come to me and she was frustrated. But see, the problem was that she needed the job. And I know whoever's listening to this, you would say, oh no, I don't care how bad I needed that job. I would have found another one. I agree, but everyone doesn't have that mental strength or that belief system. And I would tell her that. That's an example of being passive, just being ran over. And maybe that's to the extreme, but that is an example. Silence is expensive. When you think about it, when you're quiet, when you let a lot slide, you think you're letting it slide, but you're really holding on to it. You're just not expressing it. But it starts seeping through your emotions. It starts seeping through your health. It impacts you in other areas. And so I believe that we have to confront, we have to face it, we have to speak up. And that's where assertive comes in. Assertive is the third type of response that I found. And it's the complete opposite of passive. Well, I take that back. I think assertive would be in the middle of passive and reactive, because it's not off of emotion and you're not being passive. Being assertive is being firm, but being respectful. This is when you stand up for yourself. Let's say you come home and let's use the same example of the dishes not being done. You come home and you say, look, now I've asked you to wash these dishes. Let's sit down and discuss what the plan of action is. How can we best resolve this? What would help you to remember to do the dishes? Maybe you should do it as soon as you come home. Maybe we should set an alarm for you to do it. Maybe you should do it after you eat. I mean, being assertive is saying what you mean, saying what you need, and even offering solutions, even providing solutions. In the professional space, you can say, just like the example I gave about that report, and the manager's dissatisfied about how that report came out. You can say, okay, well, how can we prevent this in the future? Because I want it to be right and you didn't provide any guidelines. So what exactly is it that you would like? How would you like this report to look? That would be helpful. So you're saying what you mean, you're expressing yourself, and you're also asking for insight. You're being firm, but respectful. Why am I going through all this? It's so necessary. If you listen to my other episodes, you'll see that I speak about challenges in the workplace that we also find in our personal and public lives. Our personal lives and our public experiences. There we go. And it's all about this podcast. My mission is all about resolving these challenges in the workplace, because when we're able to resolve our challenges there, it permeates outside of those walls. All of our solutions, how we manage to deal with people we don't know from different backgrounds, different religions, different income levels, status, demographics, gender, that all matters. And so if we can resolve those challenges, when we step out of that environment, we are also benefiting the world that way. It transcends the workplace. These solutions transcend the workplace. It's a ripple effect. It goes to our customers, our vendors, our families when we get home. That energy. We're not coming home upset. We're not going into the grocery store mad at the clerk or the cashier. We're finding different ways to resolve problems. And so by beginning in the workplace, we're addressing all of that. With strangers, with people we don't know. We end up knowing them. We end up learning about them. We end up finding ways to work with them and meeting people halfway. Do you see how that works? So when we do that, it permeates throughout those walls, throughout those boundaries. And that's what KimUnity Soulutions is all about. Are you a business leader who is experiencing employees who are disengaged? Is your leadership frustrated? Do you have high turnover? If so, you should book a call with KimUnity Solutions today, where we help you enhance leadership, empower employees, and provide unifying solutions that create peace, productivity, and profitability, cultivating a shared success for everyone, the employees, the leaders, and the business. Contact KimUnity Solutions today. Now, the fourth type of response is mindfulness. So mindfulness is when you're considering your feelings, you're considering the other person's feelings and their backstory. It's really emotional intelligence, right? So going back to the very first example that I gave you about me mentioning something and someone just getting upset and irate, and I extended grace because I knew that they were sick. This was an example of mindfulness. Yes, I could have been reactive and responded the way that they did. I could have matched that energy, or I could have been passive and not addressed it at all. Now, this situation may resemble passiveness, but it's actually being mindful because I'm taking everything into consideration. If this was in a professional space, if this was at work, maybe it looks like someone turning in another report. Let's use the same example so that you can see the difference. You turn in the report and then it's not satisfactory to the manager. And they come back and they say, there were a lot of typos in this report. This is not like you. I understand that you're going through something right now. I know it's tough, or something to that effect. Maybe you need some time off. Is everything okay? It doesn't always happen, but that is an example of mindfulness. Now, yes, I did my research and I found these 4 types, but I would like to throw in a 5th one, my own. And I would call it the passive aggressive response. I can relate to it so well, and maybe you can too. So this 5th one, passive aggressive, this is when you want to let it slide, but at the same time you're letting them know, hey, we can go there if you want to. So these types of responses would be like okay, now you have one more time, or not today. So you're trying to say you're passive, but it's really aggression on the back end. I can hear my daughter now. She's learned a new term. I don't know where she's got it from. When I ask her where she gets all this stuff from, she says, "Why can't I create it myself?" But if I have a little attitude, and she'll jokingly say, "Oh, you need that? Do you need that?" As in, do you want to take it there? Do you want to fight? Not like we fight or anything, but that's her sarcasm. That's how she lightens up the mood. Oh, you need that? So that's passive aggressive as well. I'm saying all this again to say that how we respond matters. And each response has a consequence. My dad always says, for every action, there's a reaction. There's always consequences and repercussions. So when you think about different professions, let's say the police, we see it all the time. How you respond matters. Sometimes how you don't. But for, let's say, the doctor-patient relationship, I've been in doctor's offices where, I ask a question and they respond with sarcasm or disbelief. Their response matters. How can I go on? How can I trust you? How can I have a conversation? How can I tell you how I really feel? How we respond matters. It shapes our environments and our relationships and our own emotional well-being. Because when I walk out of there, now I don't feel comfortable. Now it's like, who can I go to? Where do I go? It's important to be self-aware. Responding with mindfulness is about being self-aware. You're not quick to just respond carelessly. But self-awareness isn't just good enough. You also have to show empathy. So now we're covering both sides. We're covering ourselves because we're aware of ourselves, and then we're also paying attention to the other person. Empathy is when you step into their shoes and see what they're experiencing, what they feel like. And this is the KimEthical way. This is the KimEthical way. How you respond, especially in the workplace, it determines how you're viewed, how you're perceived by your coworkers. If you just take anything, we all are being observed wherever we go. And so our responses are also duly noted. If you're reactive in the workplace, yes, you may be qualified when that position opens up. Maybe you know the job, but how you respond, how you interact, you won't be able to get that position because you're not showing those leadership qualities. You're always acting on emotion. And I know somebody that is listening to this has wondered, like, I've been qualified for this position. Why didn't I get it? I know I can do it. I have the degree. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. But maybe it's your communication style, how you react, how you work under pressure, how you challenge authority, how you challenge the status quo. I've done it all. And I know that there's a way to do it. And so that's something that will get you further in whichever direction you're trying to go, in whatever capacity, is knowing how to de-escalate, how to still get your point across, how to be firm, how to be understanding and mindful, and also still challenge whatever needs to be challenged. If you can relate to any of these scenarios or response types, I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to comment, share your story, your experience. We all can learn from each other. We all have different lived and unlived experiences. And this is how we grow. This is how we grow together. We are all human. And none of us are perfect. Which means we all have room for improvement. So we all have to work on our responses. I just want you to think about it. Which type are you? Which type are you mostly? Are you mostly responding off of emotion? Maybe you've lost your job, so everything's tight and you're just a live wire right now. Or maybe you're passive because you don't want to lose your job. Or you want to be the person that just gets along with everyone. That's not healthy. Assertive and mindfulness is the best route to grow and to go. Being mindful, taking other people's emotions and their experiences into consideration does not mean that you're being passive. You can still be assertive in doing so. I thank you all for tuning in today into our KimUnity Soulutions Podcast. I hope that you found this discussion helpful, useful, insightful, empowering, something that you can take back into the workplace, something that you can take home and see, wow, this is why they're upset. Wow, it's because of how I responded. That's why they're acting this way. Take a moment and reflect. Take a moment and reflect on your relationships, on your encounters. How are you being perceived? I challenge you to be more self-aware, more mindful, more considerate of others. Extend grace. Extend understanding. And stop being so passive to where you are just miserable and you're carrying all this weight. Share this episode to someone who you know is going through it, or you can't talk to them right now, so you want this episode to speak to them. Share this episode. As always, you can connect with us on social media at KimUnity Soulutions. That's soul, like spirit, soul, SOUL. SOUL. Through our website, through social media. Until next time, continue spreading love, continue spreading empathy and light and mindfulness in all of your interactions. You have the power to transform not just your relationships, but the world around you. We all have that. If we all just took one of these messages and just applied it, we would actually be changing the world. I am your host, Kim the SME. It's been a blessing being with you all today. You all have a good one. Be blessed.